Imagine being the co-founder of one of the most iconic car brands in the world. A man whose name is known in every garage, every racetrack, every street, and yet losing it all. This is the untold story of Louis Chevrolet, the daredevil racer. Brilliant engineer and tragic genius whose life was faster, wilder, and far more heartbreaking than any car he ever built. In 1911, the streets were filled with the roar of engines and the excitement of a new era. Ford's Model T had begun its unstoppable rise, turning into the best-selling car on the road. And yet, among all this, one man was living a different kind of triumph. He was on top of the world, a figure of fame and admiration, widely celebrated as the fastest and most skilled race car driver in the country. His name was Louis Chevrolet, and his talent behind the wheel had earned him a reputation that few could rival. People followed his every move. Newspapers chronicled his victories, and car enthusiasts dreamed of seeing him race. But Louis's ambitions went beyond the thrill of the track. He wanted to leave a lasting mark on the automotive world. His skill and reputation opened doors to opportunities that few could imagine. With the help of partners who shared his vision, Louis founded an automobile company that proudly carried his name. It was a bold move, one that promised wealth, prestige, and influence, a chance to shape the future of motoring. In just a few years, the company would rise to challenge Ford itself, producing vehicles that captivated the market and brought in record profits. Yet, success came with its own ironies. Despite lending his name and expertise to the enterprise, Louis found himself slowly distanced from the company he helped build. The world watched the Chevrolet brand flourish, yet he, the man whose hands had engineered and driven its early triumphs, was no longer at the helm. During the economic turmoil of the Great Depression, while Chevrolet raked in millions, Louis struggled to survive, working in a factory and earning just enough to live. This was the untold story of the co-founder whose name became legendary, a story of talent, ambition, and bittersweet irony. Louis Chevrolet was born on Christmas Day in 1878 in the small Swiss village of Vlachaux-de-Fond. He grew up amid the quiet beauty of the Jura Mountains, surrounded by the rolling landscape of rural Switzerland. Life was humble, and the Chevrolet household was bustling with the energy of a large family. Louis was the second of 7 children. His father, Joseph Chevrolet, worked tirelessly in the watchmaking trade, providing for the family with careful precision and enduring effort. From an early age, Louis absorbed the rhythms of craftsmanship and the discipline of hands-on work, learning lessons that would shape his future. The family's early life, however, was far from easy. When Louis was just 9 years old, an economic downturn forced them to leave their home and cross the border into France, settling in the city of Beaune. Joseph opened a watch store in the new city, but the business struggled to support a family of 9. Money was scarce, and hunger became a familiar companion. Days sometimes passed with little food, and the weight of survival pressed heavily on young Louis. Circumstances forced him to grow up quickly. At 11, he left school to work at the Robin Bicycle Workshop, a small but industrious place where bicycles and carriages were repaired and maintained. Here, he discovered his natural talent for mechanics. With careful hands and a sharp mind, he mastered the tools and techniques of repair, absorbing knowledge far beyond his years. By the age of 16, Louis's skills had evolved into creativity. he designed his own bicycle, named the Frontenac, and began competing in local races. His victories were more than personal triumphs. They were lifelines for his struggling family, providing both sustenance and hope. Each race he won strengthened his passion for speed, a spark that would grow into a lifelong obsession. His abilities soon caught the attention of an unexpected figure. In the spring of 1897, Louis was tasked with repairing a steam-driven tricycle for an American guest at the Hotel de la Poste. This early automobile, a marvel for its time, fascinated him, igniting a profound love for machines that moved under their own power. The American owner, William Kissam Vanderbilt, grandson of the wealthy Cornelius Vanderbilt, was impressed with Louis's skill and encouraged the young mechanic to consider a future in America, a land full of opportunity and promise. Fueled by dreams of exploration and ambition, Louis continued honing his craft. In 1899, he designed another bicycle, the Gladiator, which showcased his mechanical ingenuity and caught the attention of a manager at the Durant automaking plant in Paris. He was hired to work at the factory, learning the intricacies of internal combustion and four-stroke engines, skills that would become the foundation of his automotive expertise. There are whispers that he may have also worked for Didion Bouton, one of the most celebrated French car manufacturers of the era, further polishing his skills and knowledge. Every experience, every workshop, and every engine he touched became another step toward his ultimate dream: crossing the Atlantic and building a life in America. At the age of 21, Louis realized that dream, traveling first to Montreal, Canada, and finally making his way to New York in 1901. He began working at an engineering workshop thanks to the help of William Walter, a fellow Swiss immigrant. Later, he joined the American branch of Didion Bouton, which unfortunately closed the following year. Employment was precarious, and with the death of his father, Louis faced the heavy responsibility of guiding his remaining family to a new life in America. For years, he moved between workshops, small factories, and even took on part-time driving jobs to survive. Life was a delicate balance between subsistence and ambition, and yet, he persisted, driven by an unyielding passion for automobiles. Everything changed in 1905 when Louis joined Fiat's American branch, a company rising to prominence in the global automotive landscape. Here, he found a role that combined his mechanical expertise with his love for speed racing. Louis's obsession with engines and performance reached its peak. His daring nature and boldness on the track made him a figure of admiration and respect. His first race involved an underpowered Fiat in a timed event at Morris Park, where he shattered the 1-mile world record, shocking competitors and spectators alike. Subsequent races against the country's top drivers cemented his reputation, and he earned front-page coverage in the New York Times. Strength, skill, and courage defined him. Race cars in those days were not merely vehicles. They were beasts that demanded the physicality of their drivers. Suspension systems were rudimentary, akin to braking cart springs, requiring immense strength to control. Louis's muscular build, combined with his mechanical genius, allowed him to wrestle these machines around the track with a precision that few could match. Louis Chevrolet's story is a testament to resilience, talent, and vision. From the snow-covered mountains of Switzerland to the bustling streets of New York, from bicycle workshops to race tracks and automotive factories, he carved a path that left a permanent mark on the automotive world. Even as fate distanced him from the company that bore his name, his legacy endured, a reminder that innovation, courage, and determination can transform both a life and an industry. Louis Chevrolet's skill went far beyond simply knowing how to drive. In the early days of racing, cars were unpredictable, dangerous machines, often more like wild beasts than vehicles. A good driver had to master the car completely, to anticipate every movement of its engine, every response of its tires, every vibration of its frame. Louis Chevrolet did exactly that. He became one with his machines, understanding not only how they moved, but why they moved. His instincts on the track were complemented by a profound mechanical knowledge. He could dismantle, repair, and improve any engine he encountered. His mind worked in tandem with his hands, constantly pushing his cars to the limits of speed and endurance, testing the boundaries of both machine and man. It was this combination of daring, skill, and intellect that made him irresistible to some of the most influential figures in the automotive world. One of those figures was John Walter Christie, a pioneering engineer and inventor known for his bold, sometimes controversial ideas about racing and automotive design. Christie recognized in Louis not just a driver, but a visionary. He invited Chevrolet to work at his Philadelphia-based company, a rare opportunity for a young mechanic and racer to combine innovation with hands-on experimentation. At Christie's factory, Louis worked on a revolutionary concept of front-wheel drive racing car. This idea, far ahead of its time, promised advantages in stability and handling, but it was still experimental and unproven. Christie himself never saw the full potential on the racetrack, yet for Louis, every moment at the factory was a lesson in engineering, a chance to expand his understanding of automotive dynamics and design. As Louis continued racing, he proved himself repeatedly in some of the era's most prestigious events. The Vanderbilt Cup, a high-profile competition attracting the best drivers from across the country, became his proving ground. He also competed in the Indianapolis 500, a grueling test of both driver and machine. Each victory added to his growing reputation, while every record broken solidified his standing as one of the most talented racers of his time. By 1909, he had earned the moniker the Daredevil Frenchman, a nickname that captured both his fearless approach to racing and the proud heritage of his Swiss roots. The risks of the sport were constant and unforgiving. Many times, Louis spent days recovering in hospital beds from racing accidents. Some of his fellow drivers and mechanics were not as fortunate. Fatal crashes were a harsh reality of early motorsports. Each race carried the thrill of victory and the shadow of mortality, a delicate balance that Louis seemed uniquely suited to navigate. His racing success did not go unnoticed by influential figures in the automotive industry. William Durant, co-founder of General Motors and owner of Bic Motor Company, saw in Louis both a phenomenal driver and a marketable name. Durant initially brought Chevrolet onto his Buick racing team, recognizing the publicity a daring, skilled Swiss racer could generate. Louis's talent on the track, combined with his rising public recognition, gave Durant an idea much larger than a single racing team. He envisioned a full-fledged automobile company, built around innovation, performance, and the charisma of its founder. After Durant was forced out of General Motors due to a financial crisis, he wasted no time in planning his return to the automotive world. Recruiting Louis Chevrolet gave him both technical expertise and brand appeal. Together with Louis and his brother Arthur, Durant founded the Chevrolet Motor Company in 1911. The partnership was clear in purpose. The Chevrolet brothers would focus on designing cutting-edge vehicles, while Durant would handle marketing, strategy, and growth. Louis immediately immersed himself in the work, drawing on every lesson from years of racing and mechanical experimentation. Working alongside his close friend, Etienne Planche, Louis devoted more than 6 months to designing a vehicle that combined elegance, power, and innovation. The result was the Classic 6, a car that carried the name of its creator and cemented his reputation as not only a racer, but also a brilliant designer. Also known as the Type C, it featured a 4.8-liter engine, one of the largest of its time, capable of reaching speeds up to 65 miles per hour. Introduced to the public in 1913 at a price of $2,250, equivalent to roughly 65,000 today, the Classic 6 was positioned as a luxury automobile. Production was limited, with only about 500 units made in its first year. But the car showcased Louis's innovative vision and his mastery of both performance and design. Despite Louis's pride in the Classic 6, Durant's vision for the company was more pragmatic. While Louis dreamed of creating racing cars and vehicles that pushed the limits of engineering, Durant believed that success would come from mass production and affordability. Following in Henry Ford's footsteps with the Model T, the divergence in priorities between designer and businessman marked the first of many tensions in their partnership. Louis sought to innovate, to create cars that raced as fiercely as they were driven on the streets. Durant sought to dominate markets, focusing on volume, accessibility, and profitability. Through all these challenges, Louis Chevrolet's reputation continued to grow. His achievements on the racetrack, combined with his pioneering designs, made him a household name. Yet the story of Chevrolet was not just about fame or profit. It was about a man whose passion for speed and precision fueled both his life and the legacy of a company that would one day become a global automotive powerhouse. Every race, every engine, every sketch and blueprint reflected the brilliance of a man who lived at the intersection of courage, innovation, and relentless ambition, leaving a mark that would endure long after the roar of the engines had faded. Louis Chevrolet and William Durant had fundamentally different visions for the company they had built together. Durant saw Chevrolet as a brand with unlimited potential, a vehicle for massive profits and widespread influence, a name that could rival even Ford in the American automotive market. Louis, on the other hand, viewed Chevrolet as a symbol of speed, innovation, and racing excellence. To him, the cars he designed were more than machines. They were expressions of engineering artistry and human daring. Their disagreements were intense, simmering under every meeting, every decision, and every discussion about the company's future. When they clashed, their arguments were never fully resolved, often postponed to be dealt with another day. Yet the tension lingered, shaping the course of the company and Louis's life. During this period, Louis continued traveling across the United States, tirelessly promoting his cars and showcasing the performance that had made him a legend on the track. He reveled in meeting fans, testing cars on roads and tracks, and sharing his love of speed with the public. Eventually, He took a brief hiatus from these duties to return to Europe, revisiting the quiet villages and mountains of his youth. The trip allowed him to reconnect with his roots, but upon returning to America, he found the company had been reshaped without his input. Durant had redirected the Chevrolet Motor Company toward producing affordable, mass-market cars. Louis felt blindsided, insulted, and increasingly alienated. One confrontation between the two men became infamous. Durant reportedly told Louis to quit smoking his inexpensive cigar and to adopt a more exclusive lifestyle befitting a rising executive. Durant's wife added a pointed observation, suggesting that it wasn't the cigar itself that was the problem, but the way Louis held it in the corner of his mouth. The comment cut deep, striking at Louis's pride and individuality. In a moment of both defiance and clarity, Louis replied, "I sold you my automobile. I sold you my name. But I shall not sell my personality to you." That statement captured the essence of Louis Chevrolet. A man whose brilliance and creativity could not be restrained by commerce or compromise. Feeling his influence slipping away, Louis stepped back from Chevrolet and returned to the world he loved most, racing. In 1915, he made a fateful decision that would forever alter his financial destiny. He sold his remaining stake in the company, relinquishing any claim to the enormous fortune that Chevrolet Motors would later generate. Durant became the sole owner, free to pursue his vision of a mass-market automotive empire. Meanwhile, Louis devoted himself entirely to the pursuit of speed, founding the Frontenac Motor Company. Here, he poured his energy into designing some of the fastest, most innovative racing cars of the era. Louis and his younger brother Gaston became a formidable duo on the racing circuits. Their cars, meticulously engineered for both speed and reliability, dominated competitions throughout the 1910s and early 1920s. By 1920, their efforts culminated in a crowning achievement victory at the Indianapolis 500, one of the most prestigious and grueling races in America. Yet just as Louis's life seemed to reach a new peak, tragedy struck. In 1922, Gaston died in a racing accident in Beverly Hills, cutting short a brilliant life and leaving Louis grief-stricken. The loss was devastating, and in the aftermath, he swore never to race again. The energy, the innovation, and the daring that had defined his life on the track began to wane. Frontenac Motors had plans to expand, including the development of a prototype passenger car. But the Wall Street scandals and financial instability of the early 1920s derailed those ambitions. Investors withdrew their support, leaving Louis responsible for the mounting costs of the unfinished project. With little recourse, he filed for bankruptcy. Yet even in adversity, he remained inventive. Teaming with his brother Arthur, he founded the Chevrolet Brothers manufacturing company, focusing on engines for automobiles and light aircraft. The business achieved modest success and even expanded internationally, reaching Canada, England, and Australia. But the Great Depression brought another devastating blow. The economic collapse erased years of effort, and the company folded after just a few short years. Louis tried again, attempting to establish an aircraft company in Indianapolis. But the harsh realities of the economic climate forced another closure. Meanwhile, Chevrolet Motors, under Durant and subsequent leadership, continued to thrive. By the early 1930s, it had overtaken Ford in sales, thanks to new models like the Chevrolet International. The iconic Bodie emblem, became a symbol recognized around the globe, a testament to the brand's dominance and Durant's vision. Chevrolet, along with Ford and Chrysler, was one of the three giants of American automobile manufacturing, generating enormous profits, while Lewis struggled to survive. As the 1930s progressed, Lewis's health and energy declined. Older and burdened by years of relentless work and personal tragedy, he could no longer summon the drive to start new ventures. He returned to the company he had founded, but the reception was quiet, unceremonious. He became a mechanic on the assembly line, performing the same tasks day after day that he had once imagined transforming the world with. During this period, he developed atherosclerosis, a condition that worsened steadily. By 1938, his health had deteriorated to the point where the amputation of his leg became necessary, forcing him into full retirement. Financial strain and failing health compounded his challenges, and in 1941, Louis Chevrolet passed away at the age of 63 from a heart attack. His brother Arthur, unable to endure the accumulated grief and loss, fell into depression and took his own life a few years later. Despite these personal tragedies, Chevrolet Motors continued to flourish. The company reached its highest levels of influence in the 1950s and 1960s, introducing groundbreaking vehicles that would define American automotive culture. The Corvette, launched in 1953, was a two-seater sports car made with fiberglass instead of steel, allowing designers to craft sleek, aerodynamic curves. It became one of the first successful American production sports cars, capturing the imagination of enthusiasts nationwide. Following this, the Chevrolet Impala emerged as a cultural icon, celebrated for its elegant, elongated design and advanced features. The Impala broke records for annual vehicle sales, surpassing 1 million units in both 1965 and 1966, achievements that remain legendary in the automotive world. Louis Chevrolet's life was marked by extraordinary highs and devastating lows. He was a pioneer, an innovator, and a visionary, whose passion for speed and excellence reshaped the automotive landscape. Though his final years were filled with hardship and obscurity, his legacy endured. Today, he rests at Holy Cross Cemetery in Indianapolis, near the racing circuits where he once reigned supreme. His name lives on in every Chevrolet that rolls off assembly lines around the world, a lasting testament to the daring, creativity, and unyielding spirit of a man who refused to compromise his soul for fame or fortune. Despite a life filled with triumphs, heartbreak, and unfulfilled dreams, Louis Chevrolet's legacy endures far beyond his own struggles. The man who once conquered racetracks with daring skill, who poured his soul into designing machines of speed and beauty, may not have reaped the wealth and recognition he deserved in his lifetime. But every Chevrolet that drives across the world carries a piece of him. His name became immortal, a symbol of innovation, courage, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. Louis's story reminds us that greatness is not measured solely by wealth or fame. It is measured by passion, by the courage to follow one's vision, and by the mark left on the world. From the mountains of Switzerland to the racetracks of America, from the drafting tables of his workshop to the assembly lines of the company that bore his name, Louis Chevrolet's spirit lives on in every engine, every curve, every roar of a car built to inspire. His life was a testament to dreaming boldly, living fiercely, and leaving a legacy that no fortune or tragedy could ever erase. In the end, Louis Chevrolet did more than build cars. He built a legend.